The massive alien ship drifted silently in the cold darkness beyond Neptune's orbit. Its once gleaming hull now reflected the dim sunlight weakly, like a dying star. Around it, 50 other ships of various sizes floated in formation, all of them equally dark and lifeless. This was the refugee fleet of the Luminaris system, carrying over 200,000 souls, now stranded in an unknown part of space. Inside the command center of the lead ship, Fleet Commander Dal stared at the status screens with growing despair. The quantum drive systems, the pride of their civilization, had failed catastrophically across the entire fleet. The backup systems, designed with the same advanced technology, proved equally useless. Their ships, for all their technological glory, were nothing more than metal coffins drifting in space. "Commander," called out First Officer Wren from his station, "we've detected radio signals from the inner system. They appear to be artificial in nature." Dal moved to Wren's console, his long fingers touching the display screen. The signals were primitive by their standards, simple radio waves carrying basic digital information, but they were clearly signs of intelligent life. "What do we know about this system?" Dal asked, his voice carrying the weight of responsibility for thousands of lives. "The third planet shows signs of civilization," Wren replied. "Primitive by our standards. They've barely reached their own moon. They still use chemical rockets and mechanical systems." Dal's eyes widened slightly. "Mechanical systems? You mean they haven't developed quantum engineering?" "No, Commander. They're still in their technological infancy. They call themselves humans." The commander stood silent for a long moment, his mind racing. Their own civilization had abandoned mechanical engineering centuries ago, considering it primitive and inefficient. Everything in their ships was based on quantum principles and AI-driven systems. But now, faced with complete system failure, they had no way to even understand what was physically wrong with their drives. "Show me their space ventures," Dal ordered. The screen filled with images of human space stations, shuttles, and satellites. They were ugly by Luminarian standards, all sharp angles and exposed parts, covered in solar panels and thermal radiators. But they worked. They kept working even in the harsh conditions of space, using nothing more complex than physics and mechanical engineering. "They repair their ships," Dal observed, watching footage of human spacewalks. "They use tools, physical tools." "Yes, Commander. They still maintain direct control over their technology. Their systems can be fixed with manual labor." Wren said the last words with a mixture of disgust and fascination. Dal watched as human astronauts worked on their space station, using simple tools to replace damaged panels and fix mechanical problems. These creatures understood their technology at its most basic level. They didn't just program systems, they built them, maintained them, and fixed them with their own hands. "Calculate our remaining life support capacity," Dal ordered. "At current efficiency, 42 days, Wren reported grimly. "After that, we lose atmospheric processing." Dal made his decision. Their pride had already cost them too much time. "Prepare a transmission in their primary radio frequencies. We need their help." The bridge crew stared at their commander in shock. Ask primitives for help. The very idea went against everything they believed about technological progress and civilization. "Commander," Wren protested, "these humans, they're barely space-capable. Their technology is centuries behind ours." "Exactly," Dal replied firmly. "They still know how things work at the most basic level. We've evolved past mechanical engineering, but they live it every day. Perhaps that's exactly what we need." The transmission was prepared. Using data from intercepted human broadcasts, they composed a simple message in multiple Earth languages. As Dal reviewed the final version, he felt a strange mix of hope and humility. "To the people of Earth," the message began, "we are a fleet of refugees in need of your assistance. Our ships are stranded in your outer solar system. While our technology is advanced, we find ourselves unable to repair our critical systems. We have observed your species' remarkable ability to maintain and repair space-worthy vessels. We humbly request your aid." As the message was broadcast toward Earth, Dal looked out at his fleet through the command center's viewport. Their ships were masterpieces of quantum engineering, designed to be perfect and self-maintaining. Yet here they were, about to place their fate in the hands of beings who still used wrenches and blowtorches. Sometimes, Dal mused quietly, moving forward means remembering what we've left behind. The message sped through space toward Earth, carrying with it the hopes of thousands of refugees and the first bridge between two very different approaches to technology. The humans' response would determine not just the fate of the fleet, but perhaps the future of both civilizations. The message from space arrived at Earth's major radio telescopes at exactly 3:47 a.m. Universal Time. At first, the night shift operators thought it was a glitch. But when stations in different countries reported the same signal, they knew this was something different. Captain Mark Wilson was enjoying his morning coffee at the International Space Station when the call came. As a former ship engineer turned space station commander, he had seen his share of unusual events, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Captain," the voice from Mission Control crackled through his headset, "we need you to prep the station for possible first contact protocol." Mark almost choked on his coffee. "First contact? You mean?" "Yes, sir. We've received a clear message from what appears to be an alien fleet. They're requesting our help." Mark looked out the station's cupola window at the beautiful blue Earth below. After decades of wondering if we were alone in the universe, the aliens had finally arrived. And they needed our help. It seemed almost funny. Within hours, the space station became the center of Earth's response. Representatives from major space agencies crowded into mission control centers around the world. The message had been simple enough to decode. The aliens had used Earth's own radio protocols, pieced together from years of listening to our broadcasts. "The thing that gets me," Mark said during the first emergency briefing, "is that they specifically asked for our help with repairs. These aliens crossed interstellar space, but they can't fix their own ships." Dr. Laura Thompson, the mission's chief scientist, pulled up the alien fleet's specifications they had transmitted. According to this, their technology is far beyond ours. They use quantum systems we can barely understand, but that might be exactly their problem. "What do you mean?" asked Tom Baker, the station's head engineer. "Think about it," Laura explained. "When was the last time you saw a teenager fix a car? Most modern vehicles are so computerized that people don't learn basic mechanics anymore. These aliens might be in the same situation, but worse." Mark nodded slowly. "They've automated and advanced everything so much that they've forgotten the basics." The first visual contact came 12 hours later. The alien commander, who introduced himself as Dal, appeared on the main screen. His appearance was surprisingly not too different from human. Tall and thin, with silvery skin and large eyes. But it was his manner that struck everyone. Despite his advanced civilization, he spoke with genuine humility. "We thank you for responding to our distress call," Dal said, his words automatically translated by their systems. "Our situation is becoming critical. We have 40 days of life support remaining." "We understand," Mark replied, trying to project calm confidence. "Can you tell us more about the problems you're facing?" What followed was a fascinating conversation that revealed the gap between their civilizations. The aliens' quantum drive system had failed, but they had no way to physically examine or repair it. Their automated systems were supposed to handle everything, and when those failed, they were lost. "Wait," Tom interrupted during Dal's explanation. "Are you saying you can't just open up the drive housing and look inside?" Dal seemed confused by the question. "Open it, physically?" "Yeah, check for worn parts, damaged components, that sort of thing." There was a long pause. We haven't done physical repairs in generations. Such methods are considered primitive." Mark and Tom exchanged glances. This was both better and worse than they had expected. Better because the problems might be simpler than they feared. Worse because the entire repair mission would have to start with teaching advanced aliens basic mechanical principles. "Commander Dal," Mark said carefully, "we'd like to send up a team to look at your ships. We may not understand your quantum technology, but sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones." Dal's large eyes blinked, and what they would learn was an expression of hope. "You would do this, despite our differences." Mark smiled. "That's what humans do. We fix things, and we're pretty good at it." As the conversation ended, the scale of what they were about to attempt began to sink in. They would need to assemble the largest space repair mission in history, figure out how to dock with alien ships, and somehow fix technology they didn't understand, all in less than 40 days. But as Mark looked at his team's determined faces, he knew one thing. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what primitive engineers could do. The first human repair team arrived at the alien fleet 5 days later. Their shuttle looked tiny next to the massive alien ships, like a rowboat approaching an aircraft carrier. Tom Baker led the engineering team, while Mark coordinated from the space station. As they approached the lead ship's docking port, everyone held their breath. "Beginning docking procedure," Tom reported, his voice steady despite the tension. The shuttle's simple mechanical docking ring had been hastily adapted to fit the alien port using plans Dal had sent. "Let's hope these measurements were right." There was a gentle clunk, followed by a series of clicking sounds. The docking was successful. Humanity had just made its first physical contact with an alien vessel. Inside the alien ship, the contrast between their civilizations became even clearer. Everything was smooth and seamless, with no visible controls or panels. Surfaces shifted and changed at a thought or voice command. It was beautiful, but to the human engineers, it felt wrong. "How are we supposed to fix something we can't even see?" muttered Jack, one of the younger engineers, as they followed Dal through the ship. They reached the drive section, where Dal waved his hand at a wall. A doorway appeared, revealing the vast chamber containing the quantum drive. The human team stood in awe. The drive was a massive crystalline structure that seemed to float in the center of the chamber, surrounded by shimmering energy fields. "It's beautiful," Tom said, "but we need to see what's actually going on inside. Commander Dal, can you shut down the energy fields?" Dal looked uncomfortable. "Our systems are designed to maintain optimal aesthetic appearance at all times. Exposing the raw mechanical components is not something we do." Tom pulled out an old-fashioned tablet computer and a set of basic scanning tools. "Commander, sometimes to fix something, you have to be willing to look at its ugly parts." After some discussion, Dal agreed to power down the fields. As they faded, the true state of the drive became visible. The crystalline structure was actually supported by a complex framework of more conventional materials. And there, hidden beneath the beautiful exterior, the humans found their first real clue. "Look at this," Tom said, pointing his flashlight at a series of bearings that supported the drive's main assembly. "Classic metal fatigue. The quantum fields probably hide the vibration, but these bearings are completely shot." Dal peered at the damaged components with a mixture of surprise and embarrassment. We didn't even know those existed." The human team spread out through the drive chamber, using their simple tools to check every mechanical component they could find. The picture that emerged was both encouraging and concerning. The quantum technology itself was intact, but the physical systems that supported it were failing after years of neglect. "It's like having a super-advanced computer," Tom explained to Dal, "but forgetting that it needs a power supply and cooling fans to work. Your quantum systems are amazing, but they still need basic mechanical support." Over the next few hours, the team made a list of everything they found. Worn bearings, cracked support structures, damaged cooling systems, and stressed power conduits. All of it was fixable with standard human engineering techniques. "The good news," Tom reported to Mark over the comlink, "is that we can fix this. The bad news is that we'll need to repair similar problems on 50 ships, and we only have 35 days left." Mark's voice crackled back. "What do you need?" "Everything," Tom replied. "Bearings, steel plates, welding gear, coolant pipes. And most importantly, we need to teach their crews basic mechanical maintenance. They need to understand how their own ships really work." As the human team began planning the massive repair operation, they noticed something changing in their alien hosts. Dal and his crew watched the simple diagnostic procedures with growing interest. When Jack showed a young alien technician how to use a wrench, the alien's eyes lit up with understanding. "We thought we had evolved beyond the need for physical manipulation of our technology," Dal said to Tom. "But watching your team work, I realized we lost something valuable along the way. We forgot the importance of understanding our machines at every level." Tom handed Dal a basic scanner. "It's never too late to learn. Now let me show you how to check for metal stress patterns. Sometimes the oldest methods are still the best." As the first day of work ended, the human team returned to their shuttle with a clear plan and a new appreciation for their own primitive technology. They had discovered that in reaching for the stars, their new alien friends had forgotten something essential: the fundamental connection between an engineer and their machine. 10 days into the repair mission, Earth had achieved more international cooperation than ever before in history. Space agencies from 20 countries worked together, sending up shuttles full of supplies and engineers. The alien fleet had become a repair yard unlike anything humanity had ever seen. But not everything was going smoothly. On the 15th day, disaster struck. Tom was working inside the engine room of one of the smaller ships when his radio crackled. "Emergency in Section 7. Jack's voice was tense. "Oxygen system failure in the work zone. 2 engineers trapped." Tom's heart raced as he made his way through the alien ship's corridors. Section 7 was where they were replacing critical support bearings. If the oxygen system had failed, the engineers there had maybe 15 minutes of backup air. When he arrived, he found chaos. The section's atmospheric containment field had failed, and 2 engineers, Mike and Lisa, were trapped inside. The alien crew was panicking, their automated systems unable to solve the problem. "Why can't we just open the emergency doors?" one of the alien technicians asked. "The quantum controls are locked," another replied. "The system thinks opening the doors would cause catastrophic decompression." Tom looked at his tablet, checking the oxygen levels in Mike and Lisa's suits. 12 minutes of air left. The alien ship's automated systems, designed to be perfect, had become a prison. "Jack," Tom called out, "get me the emergency bypass kit." Jack ran up with what looked like a simple toolbox. Inside was one of humanity's oldest and most reliable tools, a manual hydraulic pump with mechanical overrides. The aliens watched in confusion as Tom started attaching the primitive device to their advanced door mechanism. "What are you doing?" Dal asked, having just arrived at the scene. "The quantum safety systems. Sometimes you need to ignore the smart systems and do things the old way," Tom interrupted, connecting the pump. "Your ships are amazing, but they're too perfect. They don't account for when things go really wrong." 10 minutes of air left. Tom and Jack worked quickly, their hands steady despite the pressure. They were bypassing billions of credits worth of alien technology with something that looked like it belonged in a 20th century garage. "Humans," Dal observed, "always seem to have a backup plan." "We learned the hard way," Tom grunted, pumping the hydraulic handle. "Space is dangerous. The more complicated your safety systems are, the more ways they can fail. Sometimes you just need a good old-fashioned lever." 8 minutes of air left. The door groaned as the hydraulic pump forced it open, metal scraping against metal. It was loud, crude, and absolutely beautiful to everyone watching. As soon as the gap was wide enough, Jack and another engineer rushed in with emergency air supplies for Mike and Lisa. The rescue was successful, but it taught both species an important lesson. The aliens began to understand why humans insisted on manual overrides for everything. The human engineers, in turn, started documenting all the ways alien automation could trap them. You know what we need, Jack said during the debrief meeting. We need to install emergency kits on every ship, simple mechanical tools that can override any system. Dal, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. My crew has been talking. We want to learn more about these manual solutions. Perhaps we could set up training sessions. Tom smiled. I think that's a great idea. In fact, he reached into his toolkit and pulled out a wrench. Why don't we start right now? What followed was one of the strangest training sessions in human history. Alien crew members, used to controlling everything with thought commands and quantum fields, learned how to use wrenches, hammers, and manual pumps. They were like children discovering basic tools for the first time, and their excitement was contagious. By the end of the day, emergency toolkits were being installed throughout the fleet. Each one contained basic mechanical tools, manual overrides, and at Jack's insistence, several rolls of duct tape. The aliens think it's primitive, he told Tom with a grin, but wait until they see how many problems you can solve with it. As they worked, news came from Earth. More supplies were on the way, including everything needed to repair the fleet's life support systems. They were making progress, but time was still tight. They had 25 days left to complete the biggest repair job in human history. As repairs continued on the fleet, something unexpected began to happen. What had started as a technical mission was turning into the greatest cultural exchange in human history. The repair teams now spent their break times with alien crews, sharing stories, knowledge, and discovering surprising similarities between their species. In one of the larger ships, Tom found himself sitting in what the aliens called a relaxation chamber, drinking something that tasted almost like coffee while talking with Dal and several alien engineers. The room's walls changed colors slowly, creating a peaceful atmosphere. I still don't understand, one of the alien engineers named Kure said, holding up a simple pocket calculator Tom had given him. Your device needs no quantum processing, no AI, yet it can perform complex calculations. Tom chuckled. Sometimes simple is better. Sure, your quantum computers are amazing, but can they run for a year on a tiny battery? Sometimes you don't need a supernova to light a candle. Dal nodded thoughtfully. We've noticed this pattern in many things humans do. You maintain multiple systems for the same task, some advanced, some very basic. Why? Because things break, Tom explained. In space, having a backup for your backup can mean the difference between life and death. Look at your ships. They're incredible, but one system failure nearly doomed your entire fleet. The conversation was interrupted by laughter from across the room. Jack was showing a group of alien children how to play with a yo-yo, a simple toy he brought from Earth. The aliens were fascinated by the physics of it, how such a basic device could create such complex movements. Our children have never seen anything like these toys, Dal observed. All their entertainment is digital, created by AIs. But look how they delight in controlling something real with their own hands. The cultural exchange went both ways. The aliens taught the humans about their history, their art, and their understanding of the universe. The humans discovered that despite their advanced technology, the aliens shared many of the same hopes, fears, and dreams as humanity. In another part of the ship, Lisa had set up what she called the Basic Engineering School. She was teaching young alien technicians about mechanical principles using simple tools and models. The aliens, who had grown up understanding only quantum mathematics and AI systems, were amazed by the elegance of basic physics. Watch this, Lisa said, demonstrating with a simple lever. No power needed, no computers, just the laws of physics. This is how we built our first machines, our first cities, and eventually, our first spaceships. The aliens were particularly fascinated by human redundancy systems. They couldn't understand why humans insisted on having manual controls for everything until Lisa showed them the history of space accidents and how simple backups had saved lives. Your ships are like beautiful sculptures, she explained, but ours are more like Swiss Army knives. Not as pretty, but ready for anything. The repair mission was also changing how the aliens thought about their own technology. Tom often found alien engineers opening panels they'd never looked behind before, studying the physical components that made their advanced systems work. They began keeping paper notebooks, actual physical paper, with drawings and notes about their ship's mechanical systems. One day, Tom found Dal in the engine room, staring at a newly installed manual override system. "You know," Dal said, "we thought we had evolved beyond the need for physical interaction with our technology. We saw it as a sign of progress. But watching your people work, seeing how you understand your machines at every level, perhaps we were wrong." Tom handed Dal a wrench. "It's not about being right or wrong. It's about finding the right tool for the job. Sometimes that's a quantum computer. Sometimes it's just a piece of metal that helps you turn a bolt." As the day shift ended, Tom looked out a viewport at the fleet. The ships were starting to look different now. Manual access panels had been installed, emergency systems retrofitted, and backup controls added everywhere. They were becoming a perfect blend of human practicality and alien advancement. 20 days left. He muttered to himself, checking his tablet. They were making good progress, but there was still so much to do. Yet looking at how both species were learning from each other, he knew they'd already accomplished something far more important than just fixing ships. The warning came without notice. Mark's voice crackled through every communication channel in the fleet. "Solar storm approaching. Massive radiation surge detected. All repair teams have 15 hours to prepare." Tom looked up from the engine he was fixing, his face grim. They still had 8 ships with critical repairs incomplete, and a solar storm could fry every piece of sensitive equipment in the fleet. Even worse, the alien ships' radiation shielding relied on their quantum systems, the very systems they were in the middle of repairing. "How bad is it?" Dal asked, his normally silver skin looking slightly pale. "Bad," Tom replied, checking the data on his tablet. "This storm is big enough to overwhelm your ship's weakened shielding. We need to protect all the critical systems we've repaired, or we'll be back to square one." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Human repair teams and alien crew members worked side by side, racing against time. They had to secure loose components, protect sensitive equipment, and most importantly, figure out how to shield the partially repaired quantum drives. Jack came running into the engine room with an unusual suggestion. "The alien's quantum shielding is down." "Right. So let's use our type of shielding instead." "What do you mean?" Dal asked. "Look, we use simple metal plates and magnetic fields on our ships. It's not as efficient as your quantum shields, but it works. And more importantly, it can't fail because there's nothing to fail. It's just basic physics." Tom's eyes lit up. "Jack, you're a genius. Dal, does your fleet have any metal plates we can repurpose? Anything made of lead or thick aluminum?" Dal thought for a moment. "The cargo holds. We have decorative panels we were going to use in building our new colony. They're made of a dense metal alloy." "Perfect." Tom grabbed his radio. "All teams, listen up. We're going to build old-school radiation shields. Think Apollo-era protection, but bigger." As the hours ticked by, the fleet became a hive of activity. Aliens who had never done physical labor worked alongside humans, cutting metal panels and mounting them over sensitive equipment. The humans taught them how to create simple electromagnetic fields using basic materials, providing an extra layer of protection. 10 hours to storm impact, Mark's voice updated them. In one of the ships, Lisa was teaching a group of alien technicians how to monitor radiation levels using simple Geiger counters. "Remember," she explained, "if the needle goes into the red, the shielding in that section needs reinforcement. No computers needed. Just watch and react." 8 hours to storm impact. Jack had organized a team to protect the fleet's communication systems. They were wrapping critical components in layers of metal foil, a technique so old it predated space travel, but still effective. 6 hours to storm impact. Tom and Dal worked together in the lead ship's engine room, securing the newly repaired quantum drive. They had surrounded it with improvised radiation shields made from cargo panels, creating a protective cage. 4 hours to storm impact. The final preparations were intense. Every ship had been fitted with basic radiation monitors. Emergency procedures had been simplified, replacing complex quantum responses with basic mechanical systems. Teams double-checked every shield, every connection, every backup system. 2 hours to storm impact. As they finished the last preparations, Tom found himself in the command center with Dal, watching the approaching storm on their sensors. The massive wave of radiation was visible as a bright cloud of energy, heading straight for them. Will it work? Dal asked quietly. All these simple solutions. Tom checked the readings one last time. They've worked for us for over a century. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. 1 hour to storm impact. The fleet went into lockdown. Human repair teams gathered in reinforced sections of the ships. Alien crews manned their stations, many of them now equipped with both quantum sensors and old-fashioned analog gauges. As the storm approached, Dal looked at the human tools they used to prepare: the wrenches, the metal sheets, the simple radiation meters. To think, he said, we once considered such things beneath us. Now they might save our entire fleet. The first wave of radiation hit, and every crew member, human and alien alike, held their breath. The real test of humanity's primitive solutions was about to begin. The solar storm raged for 6 hours. Inside the fleet's ships, humans and aliens watched their instruments together, both old and new. The simple radiation meters kept steady in the green zone, while quantum sensors registered the massive energy waves washing over their improvised shields. When the storm finally passed, Tom and Dal made their way through the lead ship, checking systems. The human-made shielding had held. More than that, the combination of alien quantum technology and human mechanical engineering had worked better than either species expected. All ships reporting in. Mark's voice came through the radio, filled with relief. No critical damage. The shields held. Cheers erupted throughout the fleet. Aliens hugged humans, all ceremony forgotten in the joy of survival. In the engine room, Jack was already checking the quantum drive they'd protected. Everything's working perfectly, he announced, waving both a quantum scanner and an old electronic multimeter. The storm didn't even scratch the repairs we've done. Tom looked at Dal, ready to test the main drive. Dal nodded, but instead of using the quantum interface, he walked over to the new manual control panel they'd installed. I think, he said with a slight smile, I'd like to do this the human way. The engine startup sequence was a perfect blend of both worlds. Dal initiated the quantum fields using physical switches, while Tom monitored the mechanical systems. The massive drive hummed to life, its crystal structure glowing with energy, while the newly repaired bearings turned smoothly. Main drive test successful, Dal announced to the fleet, beginning sequential drive activation across all ships. Over the next hour, ship after ship reported successful engine starts. The fleet was ready to move again, now better than ever. Each vessel had been transformed, combining the best of both civilizations' technology. In the lead ship's meeting room, human and alien leaders gathered to say goodbye. Earth's space agencies had prepared a farewell gift, a complete library of engineering manuals, from basic mechanics to advanced physics, along with a set of high-quality tools for each ship. We've installed manual backups and simple diagnostic systems throughout your fleet, Tom explained. Your people know how to use them now, but these manuals will help future generations understand the principles behind them. Dal stepped forward with a gift of his own. In return, we offer this. He handed Tom a quantum data crystal. It contains selected knowledge from our civilization, medical advances, clean energy systems, and theoretical physics. But we've also learned that not all advancement lies in making things more complex. Mark, who had come up from the space station for the farewell, spoke next. We've established protocols for future communication and cooperation. Earth would be honored to host a permanent alien embassy, and we would be honored to have humans visit our new colony once it's established. Dal replied. Perhaps we could start an exchange program. Your engineers teaching our people about mechanical systems, while we share our quantum technology. The farewell ceremony was simple but meaningful. As the human teams prepared to return to their shuttles, alien children ran up to give them small gifts. Traditional toys from their world, now placed alongside the yo-yos and puzzles the humans had given them. From the shuttle's window, Tom watched as the alien fleet prepared to depart. The ships looked different now, their elegant hulls dotted with practical access panels, manual controls, and backup systems. They were no longer just beautiful, they were functional. You know what I realized, Jack said, sitting next to Tom. We didn't just fix their ships. We helped them rediscover something they'd lost, the joy of understanding how things work. As the fleet began to move, their quantum drives humming perfectly, Dal's voice came over the radio one last time. Thank you, friends. We came here thinking we were far advanced beyond you. But you taught us that true advancement isn't about abandoning the old ways. It's about building upon them wisely. The fleet accelerated gracefully, disappearing into the depths of space. But they left behind more than just memories. They left a legacy that would change both civilizations forever. A reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, and that progress doesn't always mean making things more complicated. Back on Earth, the story spread quickly. Soon, it became common to hear a new saying among engineers and technicians across the galaxy. If you need the impossible fixed, call a human. They'll solve it with a wrench, some duct tape, and a bit of common sense.